All right, here we go. Now we're going to get into some more book editing and design. Editing and design. This is key, super important that we get this right. We get it dialed in because you can have the great content, which when it comes to writing or releasing anything, content is king. In the sense that, if you're not saying something people want to listen to, it kind of doesn't matter what it looks like, But if you're saying something of value, that's the number one thing. It's the most important thing. But the delivery of your content matters, right? How does it look? How does it feel? How does the book feel? The design, right? It's one thing to have something to say. It's another thing to have something that people want to look at. They'll don't judge a book by its cover. Well, why is that saying out there? Because we judge books by their cover, right? And so you want people, their first impression, their response, what they see, you want them to go, okay, that's a book I want to read. You want to start by that. They're going to see that. They're going to get in. When they open it, does it feel good? Does it look good? And the way something is designed or laid out visually can instantly decide if someone feels like your content is professional or not. Then when they actually start reading it, the editing process is important because it's not just what you're saying, but it's how it's said, how it reads, and how it feels. So step one, let's talk a little bit about the editing because we've been working through the book now. It's we're getting it fine-tuned. We're getting the flow. We're feeling like we got something pretty good. The question is, how does it read grammatically? How does it feel? How's the spelling? All those little things that are really a big thing. And hopefully, most of your word processing, that helps you with a lot of spelling, corrects things, catches a lot of stuff, which is good. But here's a little tip, here's a little trick that I found that really, really helped me. And it is you can pay for a premium version of it if you'd like as well. But it's an app called Grammarly. Grammarly. It's something you download to your laptop, and then it will start helping you literally edit your emails, give you suggestions on all kinds of things. But it will give you suggestions specifically on your Word documents, your Google Docs, however you're writing and fleshing out your book, okay? And this has been incredible. I found it because I didn't do so good of a job. I didn't do so well editing one of these books. And one of these books here, I think it might have been this one, along with the book, I created an online guide on the YouVersion, the Bible app. I have several of my books also have reading plans, digital reading plans, but I have the content from the book in there as well. When I first was kind of spitting this one out, getting it done, created the plan, sent it, submitted it to go live, and I got this kind but firm response that basically said, hey, before you submit these plans, you've got to do some better editing. I was like, ooh, man, I don't want to burn that bridge. I don't want them to cut me off from creating plans because it's too bad. And they're the ones who said, hey, use Grammarly. Grammarly has been a game changer because it literally gives you a count of all the edits they suggest. You can go through them one by one, approve them, deny them, tweak, work on it. And so even though in those initial writing phases, you don't necessarily want to get caught up on saying it all the right way, Grammarly can literally help edit as you go. And so you can utilize that. Usually I turn it off initially, and then I'll turn it on and kind of go through it and edit. Adds punctuation, it'll give you sentence structure adjustments. It actually teaches you to write better. What I love is that the more I use apps like that, then as I'm writing, it's teaching me to maybe add the punctuation, restructure how I'm saying things from time to time. It's actually a really great tool and really helpful. Now, you may still want to send the book to an official editor, but this will eliminate a lot of the initial big issues, simple but big issues. Now, editing can be two different things. It could be literally just grammar, spelling, punctuation, or it could be somebody literally editing your book and saying, I don't like the way this sounds, you need to change this, you need to edit that. That's up to you how much of that kind of editing work you want to do, I would say, especially in your initial book writing, the more other eyes you can get to read and say that makes sense or that doesn't make sense, the better. Because you don't want you're not just editing for the sake of it sounding good or smart or intelligent or better. You're editing for effectiveness. So whoever your target audience is, have them read it. Does it make sense to them? Put yourself in their shoes. Will this work out? Will they be able to apply it? Editing to me is more, it's not about necessarily does it sound good, although that's a part of it. Is it effective? Will this make sense? Will this connect with the audience? If you're talking about kids, parents, adults, teenagers, young adults, professionals, business owners, politicians, whoever your audience is, does it make sense to them, right? Will it connect? Will it land? That's the bigger thing that you're trying to solve or deal with or navigate more than necessarily just, is it grammatically correct? Here would be an example. There's one thing editing software always suggests to me, but it just does not sound right in normal everyday English, and that's how I like to write. And a lot of times, instead of when I want to say who, it wants me to say whom. And I know technically that may be the correct official word to use, but nobody in my age or younger or even older uses whom very much when they're speaking like that. So I always go, nah, I don't want that word to get changed. Okay. So there's me overriding my style, overriding maybe a technical right or wrong thing. The key is just to be consistent, and that's where this Grammarly app really, really helps. So that could be an initial pass through. In some of my initial books, I had family or friends who were literally English majors read through it, and it was a little bit about grammar, technical grammar, but those read-throughs were more like, I need them to tell me, does this chapter make sense to you? And just let me know, hey, this is kind of confusing. You could hire somebody officially for that. You could have friends and family look at that. The more eyes you get on it, the better. Now, your friends are going to get tired if you're constantly asking them to read your whole book and give you edits. So you may need to pay for that, right? But the more you get into that process of passing through over and over again, get feedback, use apps like Grammarly, some of those basic sentence structuring, phrasing concepts, you can get ironed out almost completely just with you, some friends, a Grammarly app. But you can obviously always hire a full company or editor if you're looking for someone to give you some more major feedback. Sometimes the more technical your book content is may require you to have a little bit more feedback in your content, just to make sure it's solid and accurate, okay? So editing is gonna be a process, but a lot of times I'm reading out loud, part of that. I'm using Grammarly, but then I may read a chapter out loud because how does it sound? Sometimes you just read on a page and you might miss some things. You start reading it out loud, you hear how it sounds, you may actually cause you to change and go, wow, that didn't read well. Imagine if you're like, when you ask a child to read the book out loud, and if they start stumbling over words or sentence structuring, it could be that you've complicated how you're writing it and you need to adjust it. So sometimes I'll read out loud and go, wow, that flowed well, that felt good, sounded good. Or that was clunky. I'm going to go back in and tweak how I worded that. Maybe I'm changing it completely. Maybe it's one word that doesn't quite make sense or confuses it. Or maybe it's a complete restructuring of that sentence. Sometimes I've had people go, that doesn't quite make sense. This section was a little confusing. I jump in there and I'm able to clarify it. Or I go, you know what? That is confusing. I don't even know what the heck I was trying to say. It's not even really helpful to the chapter. Let me check it out. Right? So that's a part of that process. If you're trying to ball on a budget here, if you're trying to write on a budget, the key is just going to be you being meticulous enough to go through it enough passes to be able to kind of self-edit it. If you don't have time for that and you want to just get into the hands of an editor, find an editor that can help you really massage out the content. Okay. I don't personally do like full on editing work. I do coaching and consulting for writing. And so I can help with some broad concept development, but I don't get into the minutia of chapter by chapter, line by line editing, per se. Okay. But after book editing, then we're talking about design. Again, this people do judge a book by cover, no matter how badly you want them to do it. So I try to design, and personally, I have a graphic design degree, so I do some design myself. But I also, um, there's also some great apps, like, as you can tell, I have a style. Like, it's clean, it's simple, text driven, except for this one, which was more specific to the content I was writing about. I'm pretty simple, bright colors to grab attention, pulling people in. Do not design your book on Word. Do not use Canva, just to do it yourself. You need somebody who's professional, unless you are a professional. Someone who can actually design really well, make it clean, make it look good. The cover is super key, but then also the interior book layout. Now, here's the trick. You can, I use Fiverr, it's called, but there's a few other, those kind of overseas crowdsourcing type agencies or designers, developers that can do book layouts and designs fairly cheap, right? When I was talking about you balling on a budget, if you're trying to put something together, trying to do minimal cost, but you don't have a huge budget for writing your book, this is still something you've got to invest in. You've got to invest in design and book layout. If you don't do that, you can really shoot your potential in the foot when it comes to the sales ability and marketability of your book, okay? So use something like Fiverr. I'll put links in the course here, but use something like Fiverr to be able to have somebody get you a good design, something clean, something simple, something timeless, or something creative, depending on what the topic of your book is. But that could be a great way to get a design going that looks really clean, looks really fresh, and is going to feel modern, and it's going to pop off the screen or pop off the shelf, so to speak. Okay, so take the time. This is where the most investment needs to be when it comes to putting money where your mouth is, and making this thing feel top notch and feel professional. Okay, you can look at some of my content if that helps inspire and stir you. But a lot of what you want to do, you want it to feel like you love it. But more importantly, if you're not a designer, you're not creative like that, don't just try to do it yourself. Hire somebody, trust them. Sometimes I'll do multiple covers, post it on social media to get people to vote. It's also a great way to get your content out in advance, get whetting the appetite, people thinking about, ooh, looks like a great book. I'm definitely interested, right? I've done that with several of my books, got design voting going for covers. Great strategy. But editing, design, layout, super key. Make sure you prioritize it, do the work. Those little extra inches make miles worth of difference in the long run. Okay, excited about the next session. We're going to get into some more of the publishing and self-publishing strategies and concepts.